Arbaina Kawilan. I had the great pleasure of seeing her deliver her TEDx talk last week. It was absolutely wonderful. She grew up in the Philippines. Her parents were different religions. It's a big Catholic nation. Level of poverty that many of us here in the States certainly can't quite understand. Was victim of abuse through family and eventually found her way to having a baby at a young age. The father, eventually husband, not turning out to be the person they wanted to be, moved to the States, was subject to more abuse and domestic abuse, and hit rock bottom many, many times, estranged from her children. But we have to understand that it's a process and what we need to go through. And her story is just an incredible one. And she does a great job of talking about it. Her view on discipline is so unique. It's so unique. I've never heard it before, but just wonderfully inspiring. I always say that people that are subject to abuse and trauma, that they can easily get that and take it themselves and understand and move on. But she does the opposite. She talks about it and she tries to help people to learn from it and what they can do. And just absolutely wonderful conversation. It went by in a moment, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Appreciate your time. Albiana Kawilan, correct?
Arbaina, Kawilan.
Arbaina
hmm
Kolina. So excited to talk to you. Tell me what I'm excited to talk about your journey, but what are your favorite things to cook now, given your background, Indian, Filipino? Like,
Yeah.
what are your favorite things to cook?
Actually, I'm leaning really towards Mediterranean food.
Ah,
I love how fresh it is and also rich, but you can feel the balance. And for some reason, I just have this addiction towards feta.
feta cheese. It's a great cheese. I mean,
I, I,
there's
I
like no
know
saying.
it's very versatile too.
Very versatile. Yes, yes. And you describe. I got the great pleasure of seeing your TEDx live, like we said last week, and you describe your upbringing, just weeks old. Your mother had to leave. She was going to Saudi Arabia. One of your parents is Indian, the other is Filipino, but they had to work, so you stayed with your grandmother. But your level of poverty, uh, Abiana, was just incredible. You talked about when it rained, you were concerned it would drip down.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was back. So we were originally from the province in Maguindanao, and when my grandmother decided to move in Cotabato City, that was basically because my uncle was going to school there.
This is in the
And
Philippines.
yes, yes, and there is just I'm surprised that you actually listened to that. Thank you. That's why I guess I got caught off guard. Yes, it was stilts, almost like houses on stilts,
Right.
and basically it was built for farmhouses. Um, Underneath those chicken would be underneath, and then it is living quarters upstairs. But the level of poverty that I had, I also did not meet my father, so there was no provider in the
Mm,
picture. It
mm.
was just all matriarchal figure that are trying to survive is the best term for it. And it is just, when I think about it, it is very heartbreaking, also very empowering that I managed to get through here.
Yes.
Hang on, let me go back to that. You were asking me about that. Um, that level of poverty as a child is very isolating,
Yes.
because our neighbors weren't like that. We were the odd one out. We did
Mm,
have a lot that we owned, which is about 200 square foot, and it's not much. But and there's this house, and outside of the house there are some piece of land that my grandma would plant crops on it, so we can have some food to eat as sustenance. And the the house is basically built in just no walls like this, no no, just the outside walls, and it's all made out of nipa, which is a form of leaves that you basically weave together. But obviously, as weathering happens, unlike tin roof, that sun damage and water damage combine together in a very tropical country, it
mm.
doesn't get that far.
In this fast paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. Yeah, and you said that your family was so focused on surviving
Hmm.
that even your abusers that were relatives, you still felt at least you were getting attention, and
Yes.
you couldn't tell others because they were too concerned on surviving.
Hmm. And I was also very afraid that I would not be listened to.
Mm,
And growing up as a person that was always told to not talk about things,
mm,
it is hard because I've never given that empowerment to speak about what I am feeling, what I'm experiencing. And I think even as a child, I had so much empathy towards people around me. So I didn't want to add more to what they are already experiencing, which just I think was a mistake. But at the
mm,
same time, I was a child. I never knew better because
right.
the adult in my life also never knew better.
Mm, mm. And you also say how your mother would send money to your aunts and to others, and they would lie and say they didn't receive it, but that would just translate into you not eating for days.
Yes, that is accurate. I have this very specific childhood memory of mine that my grandma basically had a few pesos, and she decided to treat me with that. She said, "Go ahead and buy some egg." And in the Philippines, it's so poor that you don't actually buy the tray; you buy it by the piece.
Hmm,
And we call them sari sari store, which is basically retail store in steroids.
hmm, hmm,
What you can buy in a tray in a retail store, you can buy it piece by piece. So she gave me that money, and I basically dropped the egg, and I managed to gather it all together, bring it home, and made her cook for me. I got yelled at, obviously, because I wasn't careful. I was running, but at the same time, I'm like, but there's still some egg left, and
right.
I could still have something with my rice, because normally the diet would be rice, a little bit of water, and some salt, and that's it.
Mm. And then it came to the point where your grandmother convinced your mother to send you to a private school. She wanted to get a house, but she insisted that your education would be worth it. I mean, that's a huge shift there. Talk to me about that.
It was. So at some point when I was in third grade, my grandmother decided that what she was earning in Saudi Arabia and what she was experiencing is not really what she wanted anymore. So she decided to move to a different place.
Mm.
And she has been there for more than 20 years at this point. She is currently in Spain. And that's when a little bit of financial freedom was felt. And since my mother is gathering that a little bit more of money, my mother, my grandmother said, how about instead of, having some flashy things, I can see that your daughter is kind of our future, which is in Asian household, they always see us as investment.
Hmm.
And she was able to convince my mother to put me in a private school. And that was both terrifying, and also I'm very thankful for that experience because I wouldn't be able to be where I am today if it weren't for that.
And we also have to say that, you had your parents were two different religions, and you were not treated fairly by the youth. Your hair is beautiful and it's curly, which is unusual. And they called you some kind of noodle that was the shape of that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So as a child, I basically was a laughing stock. I looked different
Mm,
from everyone else, and I didn't. My father, I never met, and then my mother obviously left me. So it was just a lot of layers after layers of things that people can use to make fun of me,
mm.
thinking that it's funny, but as a child that is already it already felt left out, it is just adding to the bruise.
But you're developing, and you're becoming the wonderful person you are now. So when you're in a private school, you end up falling for somebody a couple years older than you. And uh the way you describe, well, please describe how did you become with child?
So I basically had a crush on this guy that I used to go to school with, and he was the popular guy, because who doesn't like the popular guy in school,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And he made notice of me, and I just basically rode on that, and we ended up being in a relationship. And as a person that was never taught the value of being a woman
mm,
and being a person, I I thought all of the love bombing, even then,
hmm.
I considered that love, because somebody was paying attention to me, and he was the first person that I could actually confide in. And I really enjoyed our time together, but at the same time, obviously, we grew apart. We got pregnant when I was 16, and we were just basically sneaking around because I never had the conversation that I shouldn't be doing that.
Mm.
um, and I think he's got the same experience. It was really a taboo when it comes to the Philippines, the sex education. We just never talked about. Instead of them teaching you how to do it properly, it's just no. And as a rebel one, I've always like, okay, now I'm more curious. Now I'm more curious. So I really advocate on that, given that I have children now, even though I am estranged to them. But yeah, I got pregnant when I was 16. And since we were practicing Muslims then, after his parents found out, we got married in a span of a week. Almost not given a choice. My
Right.
mother did ask me if I wanted to marry him, but I decided that yes, because a 16-year-old child wanted to break the cycle, thinking that that would do it. But unfortunately,
It should also be noted that he was the first one you actually told about your abusers. About You told them about the abuse and who was abusing. You didn't tell anybody about that before him. Do I have that right?
yes, correct.
You kept it all with you for 16 years.
Correct. I never had somebody that I could trust enough until
Right.
him.
Hmm. You had the child.
I had a child when I was 17, and after 2 years of giving birth to her, because I obviously had to stop school. I was doing so great, and then
Right.
I got pregnant. And after 2 years of being with her, I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I think I deserve more than this. I know what my capabilities are, I know what I can do, and I just cannot imagine myself without finishing school. And I did. I was the first college graduate in the family, which is one of the reasons why I kept my last name even after two husbands.
Wow.
Because I wanted my grandfather, who was basically the reason that I am alive, to be proud of his name.
It's wonderful. But the relationship, I mean, you were 16, he's 18. I'm going to say this, you were children, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Um, it didn't last and you ended up leaving.
Correct, correct. And it was actually a little bit more of a dramatic leave. I left him when I was in the United States, the second go round that I was in the United States. I I don't think that I have matured enough to actually face my problems head on back then.
Mm,
So basically, I decided that I'm just gonna get as far as I could and call it even.
mm, mm. Why come to the United States?
Well, at first I was sold by the promise of freedom,
Mm,
and the American dream, and I also grew up reading a lot about it and seeing different places, mostly the different weather, different seasons. Because
mm.
in the Philippines, we only had, well, rainy or sunny.
And Texas is where you went, correct?
Yes, which is, it doesn't say as much because I it is kind of a comfort zone. But I am looking forward to moving to New York soon.
I see. Yes, New York certainly has all four seasons. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Texas is a wonderful place. But it has. So you go to the United States and you end up getting enamored by somebody else. You quickly start a relationship. Um, I should also say that first relationship, you found that the father of your child had more devotion to his family than to the new family.
Correct. As we were growing our family, we had two kids at this point. I was the breadwinner. He also did not finish college, and I was basically earning money for the family, and he
Mm.
would spend his Sundays as his school day, and that's basically a slang term for him fighting cocks, and would
Ah,
spend money on it. So I'm just like, this is not what I signed up for. And we ended up having a grocery store at some point, and his family would always get supplies from there and would not pay for it, which would obviously stir a lot of fights between the two of us. And instead of him taking the side of our family unit that we're creating together, it's always like, well, it's my mom. And I'm like, I understand that, but it's, we're starting our own family. You have to look after your own before you extend. And I think that that's a lot of our difference as well. I am very individualistic
mm,
before I could be a community,
mm,
and I think that is very important. I just never pushed it as much in a country or in a place where community is just a lot. To me, I always looked after myself because I never knew anything else.
mm. So you come to the States, you meet somebody, you describe it in your TEDx is that he kind of swept you off your feet, and you have a great podcast too where you go through these stages, wonderfully presented, by the way, and it ends up. I don't know. You used the term love bombing a while ago, but it ends up kind of being short sighted.
Yes. I was swept away because obviously I told you about the first. I only had two relationships in my life, and I both
Mm,
married them. And the first one was not really what I was hoping for.
mm,
I am a very feminine woman, and growing up as a Muslim, I also believe in the fact where the man is supposed to be the provider, and that's what I've been taught. That's what everyone is doing. So when I met this another person who was willing to take on my problems and willing to listen to me and willing to give me ideas and open my mind into newer things that I never discovered before, it was a breath of fresh air,
mm, mm,
and it gave me a lot of freedom. And I, as much as he became my abuser eventually, I do want to thank him for everything that had happened between the two of us, because
mm,
I do believe that our experiences build us in a way. It's more like a video game.
mm.
Every single time we level up, and both of them are part of those preliminary rounds.
You also you mentioned being Muslim. You also I may have this wrong, but you came to states with the full in your full hijab, and you eventually decided to take it off. Tell me about that process.
Correct. So when I was doing my exchange program back in 2016, I was wearing a full hijab, and that was basically a lot because of pressure from the family that I married. When I was in private school, I was forced to remove my hijab because I came from an Islamic school going to this private school.
Hmm.
And this private school is basically saying for uniformity, we cannot have that.
Hmm.
So I was not wearing it for 4 years. After I graduated high school, I had this guy who has a very religious family, and told me that for my family to accept you more, you should put it on.
Wow.
And I did. And it never felt right anymore because I was also so used to not having it. And when I came to the States, I was still carrying that because I was still married to him the first go round.
Hmm.
And I was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and that was a hard time.
That's right. That's right.
That
You
was a
told
very hard time. I would get yelled at, like, "Where'd you get that rug from?" And as a person with a smart mouth, I would always say, "Walmart, you should buy some."
ah.
But I think it was part of me deflecting as well, and not realizing that I am actually getting racially profiled and bullied because of it.
Hmm. Hmm. So you develop you. I want to come to where we are now. So you have this other relationship. You have you have one child,
I got two with the
two.
first husband. Yeah.
So, and the second relationship,
Thankfully, no.
none. But there is a scene. I say it's a scene because that's how I visualize it, where he ends up going to jail because you had to call the police,
Mm-hmm.
and you call home and tell your mother,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, "Well, that's all right. You can let him out now. He'll forgive you." Or some.
Yep. Yep.
Let's talk about that.
So that was basically the morning after the incident. Well, we had multiple incidents, but this is the only time that I was able to successfully call the police. And I stayed over at my friend's house, and I had to borrow her phone to call my mom. I reached out to her, and she basically said that, yes, well, you probably taught him a lesson now. He spent the night in jail. You guys were separated for a day. You should go back now, and he had learned his lesson. And that broke my heart
Mm, mm,
because, as a mother myself, if I had heard that from my daughter, I think I would be flying miles away to
mm,
see
mm,
her
mm,
rather than saying those things. Or maybe supporting her in a way that, keep going. You have finally chosen yourself, and you should keep going. But unfortunately, that's not what I got from my mother. And even though I can be emotional about this, I've also forgiven her because this is her first time living in this life too. And like I said, every single one in my family was basically busy surviving. I don't think that she ever known otherwise.
mm. When did you decide to do a TEDx talk?
Oh, that was when it came out as a joke, actually.
Mm,
I was in the shelter, and it's basically me trying to keep my hopes up.
mm,
because I'm married to this middle class American, and we were having the best time of our lives. Every single night of our week is booked with sport events, with Broadway shows, with concerts. So I had a good life,
Hmm.
even though on the background it's not. So when I was at the shelter, I was talking to my sister and I was like, you know what? Um, I got this. I got life yanked out of my feet, and I cannot wait to get out of this and talk about how I survived this. And it is kind of a seed that I planted unknowingly.
Hmm.
And after 2 years or so, after I had the United Nations delegation opportunity, which basically gave me the audacity to do whatever the heck I want, um, I kept on seeing ads about a speaking coach and how he sends people to apply for TEDx. And I'm like, you know what? I believe everything is a sign from the universe. So I'm like, maybe I am ready for this. Let me just go in there and try to see. And that's how it all started.
Hey, Joey Pinz here. Want to take your podcast experience to the next level? I'm excited to invite you to become a YouTube member. It's the absolute best way to support the channel and enhance your connection. Join our amazing community and unlock the incredible perks, custom loyalty badges, exclusive emojis, and priority comment replies. Your voice will always stand out. Be the first to watch new videos with early access, receive special membership shoutouts, and get exclusive behind the scenes photos and updates. Dive into content available only to our members, special videos, deep dives, and insider perspectives. Engage directly with me. Suggest podcast topics you want to hear, and even get personalized video shoutouts. Hit the join button right now and become part of something special. Let's build this amazing community together. I can't wait to welcome you as a new member. Join the Joey Pinz family today. Tell us about the United Nations delegation. You say Angelina Jolie was there. Tell me what that experience was like.
Well, Angelina Jolie was one of those people that I looked up to when I was a kid.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
Yes.
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 She was the UN ambassador then, and I'm like, I want to be that. I want to
Hmm.
help the poor
Hmm.
people, especially, especially I was the poor people.
Hmm.
Um, so I've always had this dream, and for those who know me, I would tell them, I just want to be in the United Nations, even as a janitor. I I wanted to be a part of something that changes the world. And with my nonprofit work back in the Philippines, and a friend of mine that basically became my boss eventually, she gave me the opportunity, and I was questioning myself all throughout this experience because I was like, I do not have the credentials like all these other people do. And she said, well, you have the credentials of growing up in poverty and 30 minutes from a war zone. And we are here for small arms and light weapons.
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, yeah. There's nothing better credentials than that, I guess.
Hmm.
So that gave me a lot of belief and hope that whatever we put our mind to, we can get. And sometimes in a very different format, sometimes in a way that you never imagined. What we dream about, if we put our mind to it, we always find a way towards it. The
Hmm.
universe conspires for us.
Hmm. So what was it like going into that building and speaking and seeing the delegates and everything? I've never been in that. I've driven past it so many times, but I've never been in there. It must have been awesome.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Months leading up to it, I could hear my heels clacking towards the floor, and that's how I knew that it's gonna happen. No matter what, it's gonna happen. And being there, it was life changing. It was also eye opening in a way because I've always thought of it as just bells and whistles, but it's not. Those conversations in those rooms can be hard. And I had to witness students advocate for themselves as survivors of gun violence.
Hmm.
And I had to hear lobbyists trying to say that what they're doing is great, which, it gave me an open mind to hear every single person's opinion about this particular thing that we are talking about.
Hmm. That must have been incredible.
It was.
Must have been
It
incredible.
was. It was.
Yeah.
And it is still the dream. I
Mm.
have this very specific goals, and I'm not gonna stick my. I'm not gonna. Life has its curbs and stoplights and whatnot, but at the end of the day, I wanted to end up as a diplomat.
Hmm. Is there anything from stopping you from doing that now?
Not necessarily, but I do want to have an international human rights law degree first,
Hmm.
which basically would propel me there. But
Yes.
that is on the part that is part of the plan.
So tell me about your process of writing up what you delivered at that wonderful TEDx. By the way, is it available now? Can people see it? How long until it's up for video? Do you know?
Actually, I have the same questions. Apparently, according to my research, it can take from 2 months to 6 months.
Whoa.
Yeah, if it can even make the cut. So I'm like, okay, I do hope that it can make the cut because I believe domestic violence is an epidemic.
Wait a
And
second. Make the cut? There's a chance that they won't even put it up?
correct,
Who
correct.
decides that? That's ridiculous. I just assumed that all nine there was 9 great speakers that day. I just assumed all of them would be up.
I
So
agree.
Bayshore will put it up on their site, but TEDx might not put it on theirs? Like, is that what you mean?
I don't even know if Bayshore can do it if TEDx do not approve of it. But please do not quote me on this.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But
alarming.
I honestly hope that it will be out there soon because immigration obviously is a very hot topic right now. And like I said, domestic violence at this point is an epidemic. And it's not much people that talk about it. And for those who does, like me, hopefully we get heard by more people. Not necessarily for them to do the same, but at least for them to get out of the situation that they are in.
Hmm. So tell me how you created your talk. Did you storyboard? Did you have an outline? How did that go?
Um, I was very scattered at first because at some point, as you can imagine, you heard some of my podcasts. I have so many things that I can talk about,
Yes.
and I wanted to cram it all in one talk. And this is where a speaker coach actually came in because I am treading in this water without knowing how to do this. And I am a firm believer that if you can invest in something, especially yourself, you should do it.
Hmm.
And I did that because as much as I have the idea, I do not know how to gather it. I
Hmm.
do not know how to make it cohesive, and I do not know how to make it a global talk
Hmm.
rather than a very personal one, which is kind of my talk. So I did have everything that I had lined out. I had to start just when the abuse happened, which was 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Or, well, hang on, not 3 years ago, 5 years ago at this point now. But I did have to go back to the Philippines, and I was brought up if I was talking about immigration because I came from a line of women who are immigrants.
Hmm.
So I had to correlate how I was brought up and how I ended up being an immigrant myself, and how I was basically repeating the cycle that I hated my mother for. And I obviously do not know every single piece of her story because she's not the one to talk about it. And this is me trying to let her know that it is okay. It is okay to talk about things. It is actually very empowering to talk about things.
Yeah, because you made a point of saying when you first told her you were pregnant, she said, "How can you embarrass me? How
Mhm.
can you?" And it was really barely had anything to do with her, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
like how could you do this to me?
right.
Yeah, and I'm like, first off, I never actually had a mother, so I didn't know how to be a
Mm.
child. So I had this very hard conversation with my caretaker, who was my aunt. I told her that because we are still in the Asian struggle, that oh, you are forgetting all your parents and who brought you up, and I'm like, okay, let me try to explain this to you. Being a parent and being a caretaker are two different things.
Yeah.
A caretaker, you managed to get me fed, you managed to get me dressed, and you managed to get me out of the door when I had to go to school. Being a parent is being there for your child. And that's very, very different than keeping me alive.
Were you nervous for your talk? You didn't seem it.
I actually wasn't. I was more nervous during the rehearsal, which was the day before.
Right.
I actually surprised myself.
You were great. And how many times the host said that they were all the talks were kind of redone and tossed around a bit? Were there many changes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, I had probably at least 20 different drafts.
Wow.
Yes. Um, a lot of it was because it is a very personal story.
Right.
And obviously, Ted wants to hear something that it can apply to everyone. And there's a lot of struggle when it comes to me not applying just my personal experience, but also making it bigger than myself.
Hmm.
And as a person who, this is my second language, I also struggled with how I could translate that and how I could basically have the structure to be in a way that TEDx would approve.
Hmm. Your English is incredible. So, what do you want the listener, the watcher, to take away from after they see this great TEDx talk that you delivered?
That there is life, however, you are experiencing life right now,
Hmm.
that there is always something that we can learn from our experiences. And there is always, every day we make a choice. We make a choice to repeat a cycle, or we make a choice to create a new one.
Hmm.
And that resilience is not a trait, it is a practice
Hmm.
that we choose for ourselves.
Resilience is not a trait, it's a practice.
It is a practice.
Yeah, so you're not born with it. You have to get better at it.
Hmm.
And for those who, having your upbringing, it's hard to relate here in the States to that, certainly. But then, the whole, you have this, you describe your work as emotional alchemy.
Yes.
Explain that. What does that mean to you?
Well, let me break down the words first.
Huh.
Emotion is basically energy in motion. Alchemy is turning lead into gold.
Hmm.
We we cannot have our emotions to just sit there. Our body will keep score. That will eventually translate into sickness. It will eventually turn into hatred, anger that we don't even know about. We just, for some reason, you're angry towards somebody, you're projecting on people
Hmm.
because of something that is rooted in you, that came from your childhood, maybe, that came from the person who cut you off traffic last week. If we don't process it, not only that we are the ones experiencing the side effects of it, but the others around us too, including our family.
Hmm.
And if you are a parent, that is even worse, because if we don't process our emotions, our children are the ones who are going to be the bearer of it, which they never asked for. So, emotional alchemy basically is transforming your pain into purpose.
Hmm.
And I talked about it in my TEDx talk. There's a three-step process to it. First is acknowledgement. You acknowledge what you are experiencing right now. And even just naming it is one powerful way
Hmm.
of awareness.
Hmm.
And the second step is the transmutation. This is where you say, what is this teaching me? How can I learn from this? What can I make out of this? And then the third step is celebration of small wins. Because
Hmm.
it's, like I said in my TEDx talk, it's not the big gestures that actually makes a great life. It's the simple glimmers that we experience every single day. The sweetness in your coffee,
Hmm.
the perfect temperature outside when you step out, the sun rays in your morning walk. And a lot of it is goes back to being in the present moment
Hmm.
rather than living in the past or looking towards the future. I'm not saying that dreaming about the future is bad. I'm just saying that if you live in the past, you're stuck there.
Hmm.
But if you also just look at the future, you do not have the gift of presence for right now. And it's just living in a world of anxiety, and nobody deserves that.
No one deserves that. As you break down emotional alchemy, I can't help but think art versus science.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to make a decision, I wonder how much of it is art versus science in your life, given your extraordinary past. Do you rely on the facts? Do you trust your gut? How do you resolve that?
So I think I combine both.
We all do,
Yes,
right?
I think I
Yeah.
combine both. It's one of those things where, as a woman as well, I
Mm,
feel like our gut instincts is very powerful. But given how I was brought up, I was basically forced to not listen to it.
mm,
I was basically
mm,
forced to listen to everyone around me rather than myself.
mm,
And I combine both. I do listen to my heart first. And even as much as it sounds selfish to others, like I said earlier, I am very individualistic,
mm,
and I've always known that about myself, but I never get to practice it. There's a lot of gut, but there's also logic involved.
mm.
But if I have to choose, a lot of gut, a lot of gut instincts is there.
So when you were, you talk about when your husband was put in jail and you had to go to the police, you didn't have anything. You didn't even have a phone. They had to give you a phone. When you're at this point in your life, and if for anybody listening who's going through it or is about to or has been there, I mean, what motivated you to climb up and to keep moving forward?
My kids,
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah.
Basically, the reason that I am here for the second time around, after I graduated college in the Philippines, was for my kids.
Mm,
Given that my first husband did not have any incline towards having a better future,
mm,
I've always thought that if I don't do anything, my kids would have the same experiences that I did.
mm,
And I didn't want that to happen. Being in a private school and seeing all these kids with privileges, I want my kids to have that. And even the privilege of going to a good school, I want my kids to have that. And
mm,
obviously, good school costs money. And I was actually shunned upon by my in laws back then for sending my kids to school and paying for a lot of it.
mm,
And I said, it's because I've experienced how those two can be so different and how those two can be very supplemental to a child's development.
mm,
So that's what kept me pushing my kids. I came to the United States for them, and even I am estranged to them right now. I haven't talked to them in 6 years
oh my goodness.
because they are not allowed to. And I just look forward to the day that I am ready for them in every way possible,
Mm,
whether that's financially, emotionally. I look forward to that. And even if it doesn't
yes.
happen, I just want to be ready for it.
Mm. Has there been anything in the last month or so that you've changed your mind on?
Yes. Yes. I thought I knew patience.
Hmm.
I thought I knew patience in a way that I have known patience every day of my life, but it is showing up to me in a very different font right now.
Hmm.
I would not lie if I said that I really wanted my TEDx to be a propeller moment for me.
Mm.
for me to be very visible for others to notice what I am doing and what my work is doing. But it's taking a lot longer than I am
Hmm.
expecting. And every single day, I am learning how to be patient in a way that I've never knew before.
Yeah, I like to think that I'm a patient person, but sometimes I see others and I think, my goodness, I am not. I see it exemplified so much better. Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, there's the opposite where I have friends and colleagues who are just so impatient. But again, it's a wide area. So I started my business in the 90s, and I was working, way too hard, 14, 16-hour days. You're no stranger to this, and putting my health and myself kind of in the back seat, and um not eating well, not exercising. The next thing I know, I'm in front of the doctor. She tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I had gained all this terrible weight. And she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. So it scared the life out of me. I spent the next 6, 7 months, lost about 120 pounds and kept it off. And when I tell this story, people always ask me, how did you do it? What's your secret? And there's no secret, just discipline, right? Motivation, focus, willpower. How does discipline play a role in your life?
I never knew discipline before.
Mm.
To me, I feel like if you are busy surviving, discipline is the last thing that you'll think about.
Huh.
I do feel like discipline is one of the privileged thing that you can have
Huh.
if you have finally come to a point where you can relax. That is how discipline is to me.
Wow.
And I started having discipline when I was finally able to remove myself from my abuser. I was kind of like you. I was stressed out. I was stress eating. I never knew exercise, and I'd rather spend hours on my phone scrolling to avoid things.
Hmm.
But when I started this journey, I realized that this is not what I want for myself. I realized that I had to relearn everything that I knew so I can be a full better version of myself. The version that can live her life fully. So now discipline looks like me waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and other people like that is crazy. I'm like, I understand, but I also have to show up for a 9 to 5 job that, you know, I watched one of your interviews with Kaiser.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, anyway, he was basically saying that your job is your investor.
Hmm.
So I had to reframe my mind that, okay, if my job is my investor, I don't need to hate it. I have to make myself work around it
Hmm.
in a way that I could show up for myself first before I can show up for others.
Hmm.
So, discipline to me is waking up 5 a.m. in the morning, moving my body, eating good food. Um, let me not, I'm not even going to start on how food in the United States is kind of crazy
Yes.
and all the process and everything. And growing up in the
Yes.
Philippines where everything is made from scratch, especially
Right.
with my grandma, that was one thing that I had to unlearn.
Hmm.
Um, but discipline plays a vital role in my life right now in a way that it helps me stay in the present and make way for my future. A lot of I never knew that I would love exercising, but
Hmm.
that is where I am right now. And it not only that it gives me the motivation to be present, but it also gives me the motivation to be okay, what can I do better? What
Hmm.
can I do more? What how can I challenge myself to how can I see myself differently? If I can do this, what else can I do? It makes me curious.
Hmm. I was too busy for discipline. Discipline is a privilege.
Hmm.
What a wonderful perspective. And I could see how that could be the case because you were busy surviving.
Hmm.
What motivates you now?
purpose.
Hmm.
I firmly believe that with everything that we have talked about on how I was brought up, how my experiences are, I honestly believe that I wouldn't go through all of that for nothing.
Hmm.
As much as it is hard that I had to go through all of that, I believe that there is a reason for it. And maybe one of those lived purpose is me delivering a TEDx talk. Maybe it's just the beginning. Maybe it is the end. I don't know. But that's what motivates me. What motivates me is if I could help one woman to realize that she doesn't have to stay in a relationship where she is not happy, much more if she's getting hurt emotionally, physically, financially. If I could pull her out of that and give her just a teeny tiny bit of spark
Hmm.
that she can do it.
Might I assert that along with purpose, it seems a greater or another motivation for you would be impact.
Yes. 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 I one of the people that I met at the networking event after the TEDx talk told me, "Thank you for telling our story."
Hmm.
And she proceeded with, "There's so many women is going through this, but not everyone can do this,
Hmm.
can talk about it." So yes, it's the impact as well.
So I'm sorry.
I'm not even gonna go far. I have a friend of mine that is experiencing exactly the same thing that I have experienced. She's currently in a women's shelter with a toddler. And I just wanted to show her that as much as it is hard right now, you can do this. You can do this. And I am the living example of it. It is also kind of ironic that she was the one who picked me up at the hospital.
Hmm. What can we do? And I happen to be a man. What can we do to better support? If we just don't see it, doesn't mean it's not happening, right?
That's
So
correct.
what can we do to better support?
Maybe we should stop asking the question, so why don't she just leave?
Hmm.
Because it's not that easy.
Hmm.
It's not that easy. Myself, I had to take 4 attempts.
Hmm.
I left the first time and stayed in a shelter and I came back. It's just not easy. And that's how you can support. Stop putting the blame on the victims. It takes time. It takes the divine timing for them to realize that this is not it for them anymore. Stop questioning and start offering support. How can we help? And you mentioned that you're not seeing it obviously, but when you do, stop questioning,
Hmm.
start offering. And even if they take it and then still go back to it, give them grace
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's not easy. There's a lot of things involved to it, conditioning, the the reliance that we had towards our abusers, because that's basically how it is formed.
Hmm.
The highs and lows of the relationship. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. That is a little bit of addiction
Hmm. Hmm.
that our nervous system craves. So just have grace, stop questioning, start offering.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. I talked to a therapist recently on the podcast, and when people go through trauma, I remember asking her, what's some of the worst things you can say? And she immediately came up with, I know exactly how you feel. Terrible thing to say
Hmm.
because you can't.
You can't
You can't.
magnify how it is, and it may be the same experience, but the way that the person perceives it is
Right.
very different.
Right. Right. So, given your motivation of purpose and I injected impact, how do you measure success?
That is a very good question. And I used to answer that with degrees. I used
Hmm.
to answer that with the things that I did. To me, success is how I live my life on the daily and how I am content with what I have and with how I live my life. I do not chase for more. I do want more, but it doesn't mean that I have to chase it. And that's what success is for me. I am happy where I am right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Hmm.
um, but gratitude of what you have and a dream, obviously. That to me, the combination of that is what success is to me. And just like life, our dreams and our success goes in ebbs and flows. So I might have a very different answer if you ask me next week.
There's no wrong answer,
Hmm.
right? I asked you what discipline plays. I mean, you may change that. I mean, yeah, that's a wonderful answer though. So your podcast, The Resilience Code. How did you come up with that name? What do you want people to take away from you? Do a great job. It's pure monologue. You're, branches. You're taking different areas and you're making a wonderful parallel to what happened in your life while telling your story and trying to present a lesson. What do you want people to take away from that listen?
It's the same thing that I wanted them to take away from my TEDx talk,
Hmm.
that even if your life may have looked like storms after storms, it may have that your life may look like your roots are rotten because of how you were brought up. You always have a choice. You always have a choice to come out different.
Hmm.
You may be brought up as a weed, but you always have the choice to be a flower. Like I always believe that I am not the product of my parents. I
Hmm.
am a product of who I wanted to be.
Hmm.
And at first I didn't have that choice, but as I was getting older and I was rediscovering myself, I always I get this question a lot. Why aren't you vengeful?
Hmm.
Why don't you seek revenge? Why aren't you hateful? And I'm like,
Hmm.
because I don't have to be the people who hurt me. Like they say, hurt people, and I'm
Hmm.
like, no, hurt people can also be the people who make sure that others won't get hurt.
Hmm.
And the resilience code is actually, as of right now, it is a personal journey, but eventually, I mean, I am encouraging people to share their story
Hmm.
in a way that can be anonymous, or it can be, I can tell their names if they want me to. I have not received any story submission just yet, so that's why it's been very, very personal at the moment. But I do want this platform to be a vessel for the stories of resilience of every single one of us
Hmm.
that are open to sharing. Because just by talking about it, even anonymously, gives you a lot of freedom,
Does, yeah.
decompression from the heaviness of what you're feeling.
What kind of role does spirituality play in your life now?
It is how I live my life now,
Hmm.
even though I was brought up in a very Catholic country as a Muslim.
Hmm.
I
The
believe,
Philippines are a Catholic country.
yes, yes. And when I tell people that I am a Muslim born and raised there, like, how did that happen? It's like, there are Muslims there.
Hmm.
It is one third of the population at least. Um, but I stopped naming a God.
Hmm.
I do know that there is a God, that we are one of God. There is God within all of us. And I believe that we are a collective, learning from each other, mirroring each other. And I guess that's one of the motivation why I am able to speak as publicly as I am,
Hmm.
because I may have the courage to talk about everything that I've been through, but I know that I'm not alone in this.
Hmm. It seems to me that you lead with a lot of love. I mean, because you're not vengeful, you're not hateful. How about that? Does that play a role as well? A heavy role?
Yes. It's one of those things where I never experienced love the way that I wanted to.
Mm.
So I wanted to be the start of that.
Hmm.
I
It's
don't,
very conditional in your
yes. Yeah. I don't I
path.
don't have to I don't have to receive it. I don't have to receive it before I can give it.
Hmm. I think I many people would have just, I'm going to say it, many lesser people would have gotten, had the trauma and the history that you've had and just kind of closed up and went and did their business. But you did the complete opposite. You're talking about it. You're saying, hey, this happened to me. I can help you do it. Here's the lessons I learned. If this has happened to you, this is where you can get help. You're not alone. This is the trait of a remarkable person. This is the an incredible way to make that shift, and I thank you for it. And I do whatever I can to help. And I thank you so much for your time today. Absolutely wonderful. I loved your TEDx speech. I hope it gets displayed. I'm going to look into this, by the way. I don't understand, but let's put that aside. But I can't wait for people to hear it and learn more about you. How can people get in touch with you if they're listening?
I am on Linktree, so it's basically just linktree.com/forward slash Kawilan, Kawilan, Biya, Biya. And everything, my social is on there. And if you want to book me to speak as well, obviously I love to talk. Book me on there, because I'm planning to transition life in a way that I could get more freedom when it comes to my time, so I can live life in a way that I'd like to, rather than being stuck in a 9 to 5 job. Not that there is something wrong with that, but it's just not the life that I want for myself anymore.
Well said. So you're on Linktree. You're also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You have great shorts in YouTube, by the way. Lots of those shorts that are done really, really well. Uh, and I appreciate so much. Next time we're in the same geography, I hope to get a cup of tea with you.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Thank you for your platform. I appreciate your time today as well.
You be well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.